So, when I get ready to sew, first of all, in my bobbin case, I tighten the tension a little bit and I put a bobbin in of bottom line or so fine, some sort of a lightweight bobbin thread. And I like to use a color that will blend in with my background fabric, not a dark color if I'm on a light background. In the top, I put a size 60 Microtex Sharp sewing machine needle, which is very fine and very sharp and makes a very tiny needle hole. I thread my machine with monofilament thread, which is also a very fine thread. So that's why you want to use that tiny needle, so that you don't have a big needle hole that does not get filled up by those fine threads. I use on my Bernina, I use a number 20 open toe applique foot. This is a zigzag foot, and it has a channel underneath which lets the edge of the applique, the thickness of the applique, flow right underneath it with no problem. So on any machine, be sure you get this kind of a foot that has no bar across the front so you can see where you're going, and it has that little channel carved out underneath. Then I set my sewing machine for either a zigzag stitch, a blind stitch, or a very overlock stitch. The zigzag stitch, when you are stitching, the right hand swing of your needle will be on the background fabric and the left hand swing will be up on the applique. So you'll be down on the background, up on the applique, down, up, down, up, down, up with each stitch. The blind stitch has 4 straight stitches and then a little zigzag bite. And all those 4 straight stitches should be on the background, and only the zigzag bite comes up onto the applique shape. The very overlock stitch has 2 straight stitches between the zigzag bites, and this is better for intricately shaped pieces. Same thing again, the straight stitches are on the background and only the zigzag bite comes up onto the applique. Now I've made these drawings very large so they're easier to see, but in reality you want to make these stitches very, very short and very, very narrow. So on these, on the blind stitch and the very overlock stitch, you would only have about 1/8 of an inch in between those zigzag bites. So you stitch around the complete shape, and then to get the paper out, I take my very pointed embroidery scissors and I cut a slit in my muslin stabilizer and my background fabric. And I think that I forgot to mention that muslin stabilizer. But these stitches are so tight and so small that they will tend to draw up your background fabric unless they are stabilized. So I cut my slit on the bias so that it won't ravel, and I make it plenty big enough to get that paper out. Then I spray that shape, that stitching line, with my spray bottle with plain water. We'll just wait a few seconds and that glue will soften up. And I can reach inside that slit with my trolley needle and pull up the edge of that paper, and that whole paper shape will come out. And if you have trouble getting that paper out, it just means it's not wet enough. But here's the whole paper shape out. And then I put this down on my ironing surface, and I put a muslin pressing cloth over the top, and I iron it dry with a hot iron. And I iron it from both sides. And now you're ready to sew on another layer of applique shapes if you need to, or that can just be the end of your block. So I hope you enjoy using your trolley needle, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.